with Arnold Dean. Hot talk, great guests. Weeknights at 6:15 from WTIC, Hartford.
BBC Radio, Canada's public broadcast.
Try Carter's Little Liver Pill. Good advice.
Good mornings only on KCMO Kansas City. It's 8 o'clock.
When you're tuned to CDS Radio.
This is the DX Central from the Static Podcast.
From Studio B of the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana.
And welcome to the DX Central from the Static Podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Van Horn, here in Studio B of the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana, where we are tonight doing some work on some videos for our YouTube channel and doing some recording and some editing and things like that. The first one of those videos, by the way, will be coming up this next week, right before episode 10 of our live stream on, I guess that's Friday the 12th, at around 6 o'clock or so. We'll drop this new video. It's a video on the low noise vertical antenna for AMDX. You're going to want to check this out. This is a really hot antenna. A lot of chatter about this on the Slack channel recently. And so you're going to want to check this video out when it comes out. Again, that's Friday the 12th. So if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, head on over youtube.com/@DXCentral and make sure you hit subscribe and the bell icon so you'll be notified when that video shows up and you can go check it out because you're going to want to hear about this antenna. It is fantastic. It's a strong performing antenna. We tell you how we put it together and what all we had to use and give you some tips and tricks. So be sure to check that out. In this edition of the From the Static Podcast, we are doing DX Central Relive for Season 6, Episode 9 of DX Central Live, where we talked about, let's see, the sun. The sun is getting active again as the active regions of sunspots spin back towards the Earth. So we talk a bit about some of the conditions that have already been kind of percolating here. We had Peru just bouncing in here on Wednesday night. So we talk a bit about that. And then that same night that Peru is in so loud on AM, we had an FM Tropo opening down to the southeast, down towards the Gulf Coast of Florida, the west Gulf Coast of Florida. So we'll talk about that as well. We have some DX tests on the way out for the West Coast. So we give you the dates and the details on that so you can save the dates for February when those DX tests hit. So you're not going to want to miss those either. We do talk about the low noise vertical antenna a bit and some of the ins and outs of that. We don't go into the detail we do in the video that we're working on, but we do talk a bit about that here in the live stream. In hour 2, we talk a bit about the new gear that just came in, our ATS-25, the Max Decoder. And we talk a bit about how it performs. We did a little testing on the FM side, not on the AM yet, but we're doing some FM testing. And so far, we got some thoughts. We also talk a bit about IDing Latin American stations. It's towards the end of the episode. We talk a bit about IDing Latin American stations and some things that you can do to help arm yourself with the knowledge and information that will help you get those IDs in your pocket, in the stations, in the logbook. And that's actually another one of the videos we're working on tonight is a more deeper dive into this conversation. So you'll definitely want to check that out. Of course, we got shout outs. We got a new frequency challenge being announced in this episode. So lots to get to. Make sure you sit back, relax, or take us with you wherever you might be. It's time for DX Central's From the Static Podcast and DX Central Relive for Season 6, Episode 9. Check it out.
From the Gulf South
to your corner of the world,
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
From the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, it is DX Central Live, Season 6, Episode number 9, baby. Live here in the North Shore Studio. Studio A is where you'll find us doused in blue light for now until we get to the top of the hour, and then it turns red as we look for those IDs. We're doing some live DX tonight. We're also talking about DX because it's been a week of that. Not just AM, although that's been pretty nice. Solar conditions are getting back into it, as you heard a few moments ago. And that led to some southern enhancement this week. We're going to talk about that. Also, we had some Tropo, FM Tropo, down here on the Gulf Coast. Yeah, we had some Tropo. So I see Les Rayburn's, and let me make sure Les heard that because Les is in the chat. So whenever we talk about FM, we always do the So we're going to talk a bit about what we heard this week on Tropo. It was a nice little southeast opening towards the Gulf Coast of Florida, which we don't get a lot here. It does seem to be kind of a late fall, early winter kind of path that we get sometimes. So we're going to talk about what happened with that. We have a new challenge launching this week. We're going to say adios to 1470 and 1480. And we're going to launch a new challenge this week. I would say appropriately timed given the conditions. So we'll make sure we talk a bit about that. There's Jeff in there too. Notorious. We also have a new little fun game that we're going to do starting this week through the end of the year. It's not really a challenge. I'm not going to make it a challenge kind of thing because it's not a challenge. It's just something fun to do while we DX. How about that? It's going to be a fun little thing that we can do while we're DXing between now and the end of the year. And it's actually something that like 4 or 5 DXers approached me like, hey, what about this? And I was like, you're like this like third person that's asked me about that this week. So we're going to do a little fun little game. We're going to talk about that. We have some new gear that just showed up. This one's not really new. We already have an AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, but we bought one during their Black Friday sale. Hopefully you picked one up as well. And so we got another AirSpy Discovery. We're going to talk about what we're going to be doing with that. We have the ATS 25 Max Decoder. I don't know if that's really like Max Decoder. Yeah, it says that Max Decoder on there. I don't know if that's like real or not, but I've done a little testing with it on the FM side, and I got some thoughts about this little radio. So we're going to talk about that. Let's see. We got your shout outs. We got some DX tests coming up. Not like right away, not in the short term, but there's something you definitely have time to plan for. So we're going to talk about the details of the DX test, the return of the DX tests. And so we're going to talk about those. And our West Coast folks are excited about that because they're actually going to be kind of in the middle of the action. Let's see what else. The low noise vertical has been kicking butt this week. I mean, big time. So we're going to talk a bit more about that and my plans for what to do with this current low noise vertical that I have here at the house here at North Shore Studios, and the plans of what we're going to try to do around the corner at Mamacita's house with another low noise vertical. When I say low noise, it tries to come out Lloyd. So low noise vertical. Let's see. We're going to talk a bit about something that came up in the Slack channel this week. Actually, today, last 24 hours or so. IDing Latin American stations, especially on recordings, IQ recordings, because it's not easy when you're not a native speaker of a language, right? It can be difficult to ID these stations that are down south. And I know when I first kind of really started kind of focusing on Latin America at the time, I just assumed everything that I heard that was Spanish was Cuba. I was like, that's Cuba, maybe Mexico, but probably Cuba. There's a whole bunch of other stuff out there though. So we can help you kind of sort through that a little bit. So we're going to talk about some tools that we have for that in our resource area on the challenge website. So we'll talk a bit about that. And like I said, your shout outs and a whole lot more. So a lot to get to in this edition of DX Central Live. But I want to start off, as we always do here, as you guys know, with some DX. Because that's what we like to specialize here at DX Central Live is live DX. And then we're going to start off on our challenge frequencies of 1470 and 1480. And of course, this first edition of our live DX is brought to you by the NRC, National Radio Club of America, IRCA online. NRC, National Radio Club. Get that in a second. National Radio Club is the website, nationalradioclub.org website for more information about becoming a member of the NRC. We are here right now on our, this is, let me watch over to this one. I might change this out. This is our DX Central Kiwi that we're on right now. Now, this is our low noise vertical. I just want to show you the difference in the band. This is the low noise vertical. Now, remember, this low noise vertical is omnidirectional from all practical purposes. So it's getting everything in all directions. Then we go directional. So here is another omnidirectional antenna. This is the PA0 RDT mini whip. Now, the low noise vertical is 35 feet. This mini whip is that little bitty dude at 45 feet up. you can see the difference in signal levels. Now we go to our 20 by 70 foot CAS at 125 degrees. Now, keep in mind, being so directional, it's only pulling a certain number of signals in that direction. So it's going to have less signals to deal with than that omnidirectional vertical. So I would expect the signal levels to look a little bit weaker on this antenna. Now we go to the northeast, 15 by 60 foot CAS at 35 degrees. Probably a little bit more on this one-ish, maybe, because there's more signals in the northeast than there are in the southeast. And then we look at the east with our 50 by 56 foot super loop at 83 degrees. I'm not resetting the scale. I'm just going through all of them. That's probably the closest to like the mini whip here, because we're kind of looking more to like a lot of signals here up to our east, northeast-ish, southeast-ish as well. So that's going to be more like closer to a omnidirectional, even though you're kind of nulling out the backside. So, but we're going to go back to that 35-foot vertical with the high Z amplifier. This low noise vertical has been absolutely crushing it this week. It has been it's been the early riser. So as we get closer and closer to sunset, all the other antennas are kind of still waking up. The low noise vertical is ready to roll. So we're going to start there today with our Kiwi. Now we also do have our shortwave central Kiwi. This is the Kiwi CAS, I call it, the Latin American one. And you can see a lot of signals in here tonight, pretty strong. Let's do a quick. That is actually the one. Okay, so it is actually still moving. So we're going to take a look at that here in a little bit and see maybe what we have on that particular SDR, but we're going to start off here with our Kiwi and the low noise vertical on 1470. Also did some work this week trying out this vertical on long wave with non-directional beacons. Dude. As much of a fan as I've been of this mini whip that I've been using on long wave, this 35-foot vertical, it's kind of awesome. The noise floor is super low on this thing. The signal levels are super strong. I'm seeing long wave beacons I've never even seen before with this antenna. Turn that up a little bit.
DX Central Live Top of the Hour Alert.
All right, top of the hour time frame means we're looking for IDs. So we're going to go mic off so we can listen for some IDs here at the top of the hour. If we hear anything that we can identify from this DX session, before we come back with the mic, we'll hit that little sounder. When you hear that sounder, that means we caught one. So let's see what we got. Real quick, hey Mamacita. Yeah, I got plans for your house too. I'm full over here. I have no more room. We're gonna take over your yard now.
fellow people on there are venting their frustrations in we Thomas Johnson on fire stewarding openly came up the line here to rank and file their updates and the level they get for and the leadership back Tom getting a call as part of the process is here to take the
Muchísima gente. como que de ahí, porque empeora. Se estima que para el 2050 tenemos cerca de 900 personas con diabetes. Para que lo tengan en un contexto más amplio.
All right, I don't think we're going to get anything out of this one here. I didn't hear a distinct ID there at the top of the hour. We had a Spanish station in there and a couple of others, but I didn't hear anything distinct in there to pull out an ID. So, talking in the chat, for our folks who are interested in becoming a patron of DX Central, patreon.com/DX Central, there's already perks there for you for that. But one of the things that I do want to eventually be able to do is to, right now the money that we're getting from that is paying for like our hosting fees for all of our websites. It's paying for the monthly subscriptions for things like our video editing suite and software, which actually last night I had to add in Adobe After Effects. So that's going to be another $23 a month. So we can do some stuff we're trying to do with our videos. All the monthly subscriptions for all the different services that we use for video editing and hosting and different things like that. Once we got all that covered 100%, then the next thing is going to be all that money that we get is going to sit back, and we're going to stash that back into the channel so we can use that to like sponsor Kiwi SDRs. So, if there's a particular area that we want to, have a DXer friend of ours that we all kind of are like, hey, so-and-so has a great setup. Let's go put a Kiwi at their place because that's an underserved area. Or like an FM web server. Like I'm thinking of our friend from the Slack channel, Bill, up in Nebraska. Bill has got an amazing setup with like massive, like 90-foot towers and all this just tremendous FM gear. I want an FM receiver or, at least one FM receiver to sponsor up at his place. But, we need some funding for that. So stuff like that. Right. So that's going to be our eventual goal with the Patreon channel or Patreon stuff is to cover all of our costs and then take that and invest that back into DX Central wherever we need to for upgrades or whatever we need to do for our stuff that we give to you guys, our videos and live streams, all that kind of stuff. If we have to buy a new camera or something like that. And then also for sponsoring online receivers so we can provide that back to the community so the community has more options to DX online from places maybe you're underserved right now. So that's, or, like an antenna. Maybe you've got the receiver, you just need an antenna. We want to help sponsor like an FM antenna for you or, something along those lines. So just some stuff we're kind of thinking about, kind of tossing around. So nothing set in stone. It's going to be an evolving thing as we go along, but that's kind of my ideas, what I want to do with it. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more live DX coming up this next hour. We're going to be launching our next challenge. We got tons of shout outs to get to, and we got to talk about the sun. We got to talk about the troposphere. We got to talk about new gear. Got a lot of stuff. So don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
Scraping at the big blue sky. I got antennas, wall to wall, big one, small one, I've got them all. I can't pay rent, but the signal's clear. Antenna man's got no cash, my dear.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
All confused. What's he building? Has he lost lost his screws. It's a monument to the airwaves.
Let's just let this one sit back for a minute.
Who needs dinner when the radio bites? Static hums like a lover's tune. FM whispers under the moon. I got antennas, wall to wall, big ones, small ones. I've got them all. Electric dreams, but the fridge is bare. Antenna man's living on radio air.
Oh, man. It's DX Central live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. We're here in Studio A, where we bring you live DX conversations, tips, tricks, challenges, all kinds of fun stuff. But right now, it's time for shoutouts.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM, from C to C. We celebrate the ones who snag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
Funny you mention that, Jeff. My friend Jeff Immel in the chat talking about NOS servers. My two hard drives on my computer, they're starting to get a little close to full. So I went out. I have to move them, but I've got like they're pretty big. They're like 18 terabytes each. I had to buy this guy. It's a 26 terabyte. This is the biggest external hard drive I've ever bought. 26 terabytes. Okay. This thing has its own gravity. It really does. It's just like, wow. So if the black hole consumes us all, you'll know it started right here. That's probably the last one I'm going to buy. From here on out, my goal is to get a NOS set up because, and I want to have the ones where you can like have the trays you can pull out, and then I can take a hard drive and put it in storage if I need to. So I don't have to have like 20 of these freaking things. I can get 2 or 3 hard drives at all times in there. And then just as I need to swap them out, pull one out, put a new one in, put that one in my little storage case with the foam and everything to get the dust out, make it safe and everything. So that is my goal, is to get that NOS up and running eventually. So funny you should say, because that just came in like yesterday. So now this weekend, guess what I'll be doing? Moving over files. Between FM and the AM seasons, it's this is like all of last year, all of the summer e-skip, and then everything of AMDX so far. It's about, I want to say 19 terabytes total between the 2 hard drives. So there you go. All right, shout out time. Starting with our friend Dan Massey in Texas. Dan says, 1640 has dogged me ever since I got back into AMDXing 18 months ago. Is the only frequency where I only had 1 log. And you guys know, when you're starting out as a DXer, one of the first goals you should have, or if you're getting back into DX, one of the first goals you should have is, I want to log at least 1 station on every frequency. Start there, and then make it 2. And then make it 3 and go forward from there. Now, there's going to be frequencies where you have 4 and 5 or 6 or 10, and some others where you have like 2 or 3. So then it becomes like, okay, these frequencies I'm okay. Now I'm going to fill in these other ones down here that are a little bit weaker. So that's how you build your log up initially, is getting those, frequencies filled out like that. KZLS and Enid dominated on 1640, nulling, canceling, nothing is working. For weeks, I've been checking 1640 every single day. I love the tenacity. On Thursday night, the 5th, I nulled 1640 and began to clean up the shack. And then at 2:38 UTC, in came KDIA in California with Pastor Chris Swanson at 1,451 miles, 10,000 watts. I was ecstatic. So I canceled KZLS and swung the loop to 30 degrees. By 3:15 UTC, I had WSJP in Sussex, Wisconsin with the Patrick Madrid show on Relevant Radio, 1,077 miles and 1,000 watts. Seeing conditions were good. I even tried for KBJA, Utah, but that was a bridge too far. Yeah, it usually is. Utah's like I don't know if it's the Salt Lake. You'd think the conditions from, the Salt Lake would get out better, but it doesn't. Seeing conditions, we already talked about that. So that makes one goal achieved, a new state, Wisconsin, and a cheesehead log. So he started off the DX session with only one station and ended up with 3 because of tenacity. And we celebrate that here at DX Central by first sawing that log. And we've got himself a new state. Fireworks are never going to stop. We also got to cut the cheese. And he achieved a goal. He set out, he said, you know what? I want to build my log by filling out and have a target goal of more than one station on this frequency. And he said, I'm going to keep going until I get it. And dang it, he got it. And then he got another one. So he didn't just get the 1 to make it 2. He got 2 to make it 3. Tenacity, consistency, persistency. There we go. Kaz says, by the way, to try for Portland on 1640. So that's his last domestic expander he needed. Was past tense, by the way. So there you go. I need that one. I don't have Oregon yet. Well done, Dan, my friend. Good job. Love the tenacity. Love the persistency. Love it. Consistency, not persistency. For all my Letterkenny fans. Greg Caniglio, who I found out this week is a kind of pseudo Weird Al. Him and Neil Wolfish up in Toronto, apparently. Neil, I think you're in the chat. I think you're also in this realm. So if you're ever doing one of the challenges and you're submitting your logs to the challenge page on the forum, take a second to go down and look at the submitted logs table, right? That has all the logs on it. And search for DXer name Greg Caniglio. You can search for Greg or Neil, which is spelled N-I-E-L. So search for Neil or Greg and look at their programming notes. Whenever there's a song, they take the title of the song and sometimes the artist as well, and they make it DX related. So yeah, definitely if you're sitting there and you're DXing, you're waiting for that ID, and you're staring at your computer, you need a little motivation, a little something to kind of give you a little kick of entertainment, a little laughter to keep you going. Greg's got you covered with his little DX song titles. Love it. A bunch of new logs coming in from review this week. One live catch on the evening of December 3rd. Wanted to share WCND 940 in Shelbyville, Kentucky. ID shared because I can't believe how strong this was. Are they really only 250 watts? You'd be surprised, man. Especially, that's about middle of the band. But even in the middle of the band, 250 watts can do the trick. The further down the band you go, 250 watts is like, it might as well be 10,000. Two more noteworthy items from the November 15th file. 8 p.m. at a WAOC 1420 St. Aug, Florida. Nice, St. Augustine. With dual legal ID and WAYR 550, only 2 kilowatts. Yeah, Orange Park. WDMT 1430 Dalton, Georgia, and WPJK 1580 Orangeburg, South Carolina. Lots more listening to do, he says. Also, from this November 30th, RNE 684 in Spain surfaced just long enough to parallel the audio to the web, thanks to the Slack folks for TA number 2, Transatlantic number 2. And here's this clip of WCND. Let's see how loud these guys actually were. can see why he would be like 250 watts. Come on. How loud is that?
This is WCMD 940 AM, Shelbyville, Kentucky. Nuestras siglas, WCND. Nuestro nombre, la explosiva 940 AM. Shelbyville, Louisville, Lexington, son testigos de nuestra grandeza. Noticias que importan. Entretenimiento que atrapa. Todo en Duke Hit Latino.
Fantastic ID, man. That's outstanding. Well, we got a couple things to do here for you. We got to do that new log. Because you got a couple in there, including that one. That was strong. As my dad used to say, when the band is open, the band is open, man. When the DX is there, it is there. And you got the new country with Spain on 684 RNE, which I heard not long ago is going to be getting rid of their AM and going to all FM. So if you haven't gotten Spain yet, East Coasters, you might want to get on it. Because they're in the process, apparently, of moving over. So got himself a new country while the getting's good. Well done, Greg Caniglio. And love seeing that in there. Let's see how many we got left here. Make sure we have time to do what we have to talk about this hour. One. We got Stephanie. We got Aiden, John, Barnabas. We got Barry. We got Neil Kaz. We got Earl. We got Neil Wolfish. We've got Dennis. We got 9 more to do. Let's do a couple more here before we start talking about our next topic. Starting with Stephanie, it's been a busy week at the Radio Hacienda. This week's challenge yielded a total of 8 logs, 5 of which were brand new. 1480 KEJB in Eureka, California with 1 kilowatts. 1480 KQAM, Wichita, Kansas, 1,102 miles. The other one was 646. 1470 KDHN, Dimmitt, Texas at 804 miles. And 2 new stations in California. She still does get new California stations, even being in California. That still happens, right? 1470 KIID, Sacramento at 438 miles, and 1480 KYDS in Merced at 335 miles, bringing the California total to 150 stations. Yeah! On the FM side, had a handful of meteor scatter hits pop up. And with the S antenna, isn't that a great little antenna? I've been actually very happy with that thing. It catches stuff on the auto logger that none of the others do sometimes. So I'm kind of happy with that antenna. It gives you kind of a nice little change of pace, I feel like, from like a Yagi or a dipole or whatever. KXZK 104.5 in Vail, Arizona, 356 miles. KTRZ 105.5, Taos, New Mexico, 634 miles. And the big one here, KIDJ 106.3 in Sugar City, Idaho, 716 miles. I would love Idaho. Just AM, FM, I don't care. I want Idaho in my logbook so much. Finally, under the new equipment side of things and the fantastic technical assistance of Jeff, the notorious BOG.
Notorious.
Emil, I've installed a counterpoise ground around the perimeter of my front deck, so that I finally have grounded the PA0 RDT mini whip from my second floor condo. And lastly, a big shout out of thanks to Rick Knuth and Jeff again for helping me get Linrad installed and configured to the Hacienda. I'm familiarizing myself with it for the live DX sessions alongside with Jaguar Pro, and I've only just scratched the surface of this amazing DX tool. Thank you, gentlemen. Here. An extra little guys there. New log for Stephanie here. Several of them. Several new logs. There we go. Yeah, Stephanie says love the S antenna. Yeah, it's I've been impressed with it. I mean, it's not a Yagi or a log periodic or one of those big ones, right? But it's a change of pace. Like I said, it gets stuff that those other ones don't get. And so I'm a firm believer that, you know, if all you can manage is a single antenna, then by all means, do what you can do, right? But if you have the means, the space, the budget, whatever, to be able to do as many antennas as you possibly can, the more you have, the more options and looks into the DX you can give yourself. The more views you have, right? So put them up as much as you can. New milestone achieved for Stephanie as well by getting that mini whip grounded. And sometimes milestones aren't like performance wise, right? Like DX, like miles of catch or, you know, something in the logbook obtained. Sometimes it's overcoming that technical barrier that sits between you and your DX dreams. Well, my friend Stephanie got through that milestone, and DXers helping DXers got it done. Love to see it. The Slack channel is always great for that. But the collaborative community that we have here between Slack and DX Central, I love it because we all help each other. We help get more stuff in the logbook. We help each other overcome technical stuff. Jeff helped me a lot with this vertical antenna that I was putting up, some ideas, some thoughts, and especially with like the chemical ground that we did and things like that. So love to see it. Congratulations, Stephanie. We'll give you another little in there for you. Let's see, coming up next on the list, let's do John Johnson in Arizona, proving that once again the DX challenges are worthwhile. Absolutely they are. Picked up 2 new stations as a result of this week's challenge, and I love to see it. KIJD, or is it KIID, sorry, 1470 Sacramento, California, number 193 from California, 193 from one state, my lord. KDHN 1470 Dimmitt, Texas, number 123 from Texas for John, and have a strong Mexican on 1470 KERCN and a local station from 1480 KPHX. So it's not an easy one for him to do this last challenge, but he got through it and got some new ones in there. My station total for Mesa, Arizona is now at 923. We wouldn't call it a challenge if it was easy, right? It wouldn't be the DX challenge if you could just go flip on the radio and then learn where DX falls out. We're not all, you know, sitting there with tons and tons of stations waiting to be put into the logbook. We sometimes have to dig a little deep in there for it. And John proved that this week. He's got not great conditions on those 2 frequencies, still netted 2 new ones. So we saw a log in your honor, John. And congratulations. Let's see, two more, and then we'll do the next round here in the next hour. Barnabas in Florida says, started DXing as a kid, back into it, inspired to keep a log after watching DX Central Live. Man, it's so awesome, man. Really love the pre-show, by the way. Nice, thanks, man. Hey, I'll pass that along to Rachel and Mark. And Skip, our producer, our internal producer here at the studios. Catching 1690 WPTX from Maryland one night also spurred me on, only 1,000 watts at night. So it's always, there's that one catch that we get, right, that kind of like ignites that flame inside of us. You know, I've told the story so many times. I was a DXer. I was already DXing. I'd gotten QSLs from BBC and all over the world, Moscow and Japan and Australia and everywhere else. And then I heard KMOX out of St. Louis from New Orleans, and all of a sudden, okay, now I'm a DXer. Now I'm hooked. That one spark is all it takes sometimes. So well done, Barnabas. We're going to get you that new log saw in there. There we go. Well done, my friend. And Maryland from Florida. Good catch. Good catch. And next we go to our friend Barry Bankston. And then the rest of these we've got coming up next hour. We've got Aiden. We've got Kaz. We've got Earl. We've got Neil Wolfish. And we've got Dennis. You can still get your shout outs in, by the way. DXchallenges.com/shoutout. Barry on December 3rd was able to null out WBT Charlotte and snag 1110 KTEK in Alvin, Texas for log number 1900. If you've ever wondered where your DX is, Barry's got it. He's got them all. Last night, I was hearing regional Mexican music underneath Grupo Formula on 770. I was able to get a good match to the live stream of XEML, giving me a new Mexican state of Michoacan. So we've got a new Mexican state for our friend Barry. When you have 1,900 logs in your logbook, finding logs is tough anyway. Getting to new ones is it's a lot tougher. But then getting like those bigger moments like that, like a new state, country, Mexican state, that kind of stuff, becomes even more rare. So well done there. We get you the log saw in here as well. Yeah, see, he says now it gets tough. Yeah. That's one of the things about it. Is I was thinking about that with some of my Latin American DX, man. I've got 4 countries left in South America that are like on. Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, and Bolivia. Those are the 4 left. They happen to be the 4 hardest to get, which is why they're still on the list. But, you know, what happens when you get a couple of those? It gets even harder and harder and harder. Like, it becomes increasingly more difficult to get some of those in there once you've kind of gotten through the easier stuff. So I can definitely feel that. So well done, man. You've also got that milestone achieved for 1,900 stations. I mean, that's a lot of stations. There are DXers, okay, for the longest. Let me think about this. I want to say if you take all of the logs that I had in Charleston, in Greenville, and here in Mandeville, the last 3 places I lived, combine them all, and got rid of dupes and all that kind of stuff, I probably wouldn't have 1,900. Probably wouldn't. Probably be much less. I'm at 1,100 here, which is my most ever. But I think even if you threw in the Charleston and Greenville stuff and got rid of the dupes, I'd probably still have less than you do at 1,900, man. That's a crazy number to me. And it's the SDR age. It's the tenacity that you've had. I know, man, you spend a lot of time behind that dial, pulling DX out of your files and perfecting your craft and doing all the things that you do. So well done, man. Well done. Well done. All right, we'll save the rest of the shout outs for the second round here in the second hour. We got a lot to talk about here this hour. First, though, I want to show you a little game we're going to play. So this is not a challenge. Okay. This is not a new challenge. It will be on the challenge website. So I'm going to put it on the challenge website. So it'll be available for you to download this PDF. So you can do what you need to do with it. But I had like 3 or 4 or 5 DXers approach me and they were like, dude, you know, you should do a challenge for DX or Christmas song bingo. So as you're DXing and you hear a Christmas song, mark it off on the bingo card and then, you know, try to get bingo from all the Christmas songs. And I was like, well, the first time I was like, that's a really good idea. And the second and third and fourth time I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. So we are doing this. We're going to do DXers Christmas song bingo. You'll see here, we got a handful of songs in here. We got, I didn't do a free space because I want to make this at least tough. This is open for AM and FM stations, but I'll say this. I was thinking about this in the car this morning. I was going to eat coffee and I was thinking, I was like, you can park on your local FM station that's playing all Christmas music and probably knock this entire card out in one day. That's not the point, right? Like that's okay, cool. So you got all the songs. The point here is to do it organically as you're DXing. It's just something fun to do while we're DXing here during the holidays. So I encourage you to do it that way. There's not a prize here. There's no winner. Like the first person to get bingo, cool. That's awesome. This is just something fun for us to do, right? And especially those of you in the Slack to talk about, I got bingo, or whatever. We can talk about it there or on social media because we're going to share this on social media as well. But you see the songs, and we're talking about the specific versions here with the artist as well. So no remix. Rock Around the Christmas Tree, Brenda Lee, Burl Ives, Holly Jolly Christmas, which I heard this morning, and Feliz Navidad. I heard that one this morning as well, but we're starting this now. So from this point forward, there's a couple in here that I threw in here just to be difficult. So it wouldn't be so easy to complete your row. Across, down, or diagonal, any of those work. Any direction of diagonal works across, but it has to be all 5 in that way. That's your bingo, right? So regular bingo rules apply here. I didn't put Last Christmas by Wham on here because I don't want to be that guy because I play Whamageddon. I'm now out. I lost during our FM Tropo opening. I tuned a mix to 99.9. There was a mix 99.9 out of Mobile, and it was like the last 2 lines of the song. and I got yeeted out of Whamageddon for the second year in a row. Now, I'd gone like 4 years of undefeated supremacy in Whamageddon. And then last year and this year, I got knocked out pretty early. This is the earliest I've ever been knocked out of Whamageddon, and I fully blame the Tropo. I didn't put that on here because I don't want to put that on somebody else. In case you're playing Whamageddon, in case you're one of the folks like me who like to have fun with that every year, I'm not going to purposely put that out there so you can seek it out. I don't want to knock you out of the game. So no Last Christmas, but a bunch of other stuff is on here. We got Carol of the Bells, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Wonderful Christmas Time, Paul McCartney. You'll get that probably in 2 seconds because it's somewhere playing right now on at least one radio station in every state in the country. I guarantee you. If you go look right now, Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney is playing somewhere right now on a Christmas station. So there you go. We'll put this up on, I don't have it up there yet, but I'm going to put this up on the challenge website. We'll have a banner up. You can just click on the banner and download this PDF, print it out, do what you need to do. But this is the DX Central Christmas song bingo. So there you go. Have fun with it, man. Have fun with it. Again, I know that you can sit down and knock it out all at once on an FM station playing Christmas music or whatever, but that's not the point. The point is to do it while you're DXing and have fun. So let it just kind of happen organically. Let it happen. So Mariah Carey is on there. Did I not put Mariah? She sure should be. She sure should be. Where did I have it? Yeah, there she is, right here. All I Want for Christmas Is You. Right here on the I row, right here. Second to last. That's her. But I wasn't gonna do last. Oh, I didn't put that on the screen. My bad. Yeah, she's right here. Right there. There she is. I was not gonna do Last Christmas to somebody though. But you see there's a couple of these other ones, like I don't even know some of these. I just looked up like some current top Christmas songs of like more contemporary stuff, and so like this one showed up on the list. Josh Groban was on there. Ariana Grande, I hadn't heard that one yet. The Kenny Rogers, Winona, Dolly Parton, those are a little more niche. You're gonna have to probably go seek those out. So yeah, should be fun. Should be some fun. All right, let's talk about the sun because okay. So this week we saw that in the northeast kind of eastern limb, which is the one that's kind of turning back towards the earth now of the sun. Some very active, like 2 or 3 active sunspot regions are now earth facing. Some CMEs have been bursting out of these already. There was an X class, I think, the other day. I think there was another with C class right as it started to kind of come around the corner. Tremendous conditions to the south this week. We had Wednesday night. Peru was on fire here. I'm going to play you a couple of clips here to demonstrate just how loud they were, but it was crazy. I've got the big one that I uploaded to the website, but I want to play a couple. Let me tell the story. So I've been checking the bands and things were decent. I noticed that like the low end of the band was like super, like when you look at the waterfall here, the low end of the band was like super high orangey yellow and red. Like it was really, really bright. The upper end was pretty good too, but the lower part was like crazy full and strong signals. And so I went to bed and I was like, well, if the conditions are like that, I wonder if maybe we're getting some southern enhancement. So I had my phone, had my AirPods in, I'm laying in bed, and I pulled up my Kiwi, our shortwave central Kiwi, and I put it to 770 because I was looking for Uruguay. I've been on like a 2-3 year kick on trying to get these guys in the logbook. And so I'm laying there and I've got this really, really strong station playing Spanish music. And I was like, my initial thought was Colombia, La FAMA, right? And so then I'm listening and I hear this time check in Spanish. It was a time check by a female voiceover, a little echo. And I was like, huh, that sounds like Peru. I didn't think anything else of it. I was like, that kind of sounds like the one because I've listened to these guys enough now over the last 5 years of chasing after them. And when I first heard them in Charleston and everything, that I know kind of like the voices you're going to hear on their station. And one of those is the female air check with the kind of 15 minutos. All right. And then all of a sudden I hear El Condor Pasa, which is widely kind of regarded as like the second national anthem of Peru. It's kind of like Our America the Beautiful, right? And as soon as I heard that, I went, oh, that's Peru. And they were on, this was on 770, and they were loud. And I think this is my clip from the phone. So you hear this song kind of wrapping up. Then you hear that. And then El Condor Pasa starts. So this was on my phone. I'm laying in bed. It was like 3:30 in the morning. And this starts up. And I realized who I had. I jumped out of bed, scared my wife. She's like, what's going on? I was like, oh, everything's cool. It's DX stuff. And she goes, oh, okay. So I come literally scooting in here, running into the shack at 3:30 in the morning. I hit record on every SDR that I had running. That Shortwave Central Kiwi is running. I'm running the DX Central Kiwi, my AirSpy, my RSP DX, my Perseus, everything I have, I'm hitting record because I had a goal. I want that ID. I want that air check ID of this is Radio Vision, right? I want that ID. So, and then I looked over at 1090 and they were really strong over there. Now, this is a little bit later on, but listen to this is their famous pastor. His name is Francisco Cordova Rodriguez. Listen how loud this was. And that's actually a little bit lower than they had been earlier in the night. So go on our YouTube channel. I'll put the link here for the air check. We've got a full one that I did. It's about 15 minutes long or whatever, but it's got a bunch of different clips that we caught that I stitched together. And I mentioned, which antenna we're on, that kind of stuff. So I'll pop that in here. Doop, there you go. That is what we heard, right? So and I checked 1510. 1510 was like Radio Monumental out of Ecuador was like, there was no WLAC. Right, Nashville, Tennessee was gone, and Monumental might as well have been Tampa for me. Right, that is how loud they were. So over the next week or so, I would say week and a half or so, we should see this active region continue to be kind of Earth facing. So my point of this is to say, be ready. Keep an eye on the solar conditions. Right now, we're not anything like super crazy. Let me pull up the most recent one here. We are at an A index of 13. Let me actually show this on screen because I want you guys to see it. For those of you who might not have had this discussion with us before. So there are three numbers you have to look at here. Okay. Number one is the A index. The higher the number, the better. Now the A index is like behind. Okay. It takes a little longer for the A index number to go up. The first one that you're going to see go up is the K index. If the K index is above like a 5, well, that's a good thing. It's a very good thing for southern enhancement. The higher that number gets, that's the precursor. That's like the immediate, like what's happening right now. The A index is a little bit of a delay. So you'll have a really high K index, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever it might be. And then you'll see the A index go up, and the higher the K is, the higher the A is going to be. And the A is, it can be like, if it's a really good one, like 60, 70, 80, 100 plus. But the real big one that we're really looking at is this one right here, BZ, Bravo Zulu. I'm going to drop this link also in the chat for those of you who might need this. This is the solar conditions chart that we look at. The BZ right here is a 1.6. We're looking for a BZ number that's in the negative. We want a negative BZ because that means it's a southern configured, or it's the aurora is configured dipping to the south. It's going towards the south. And that's where you have auroral conditions dipping down to the low, high and mid latitudes. You're getting that attenuation of stuff to the north. You're getting that southern enhancement. So if you're looking for something down south, you want that BZ number to be a negative, and you want it to be as big a number as possible. So instead of a 1.6, I'd want to see like a negative 14 or a negative 6 or a negative 2 or 5 or something like that. Anything, the bigger that number gets, the better we're going to be. I think when we saw during the real big opening last month was like a negative 37 at one point. It was crazy. And that's when we had like aurora down here. Like we could see the aurora down here in New Orleans. So, so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a negative BZ and then a high K, and then you'll see a high A come in after that. If you see a high A and a low K, that means we've had some stuff and it's kind of starting to calm down. If you see a high K and a low A, that means it's just getting started. And usually after a big event, the bigger events, especially the really big ones, it'll kind of ring the ionosphere like a bell for a couple of days. So you have this kind of residual energy of southern enhancement, even after the main activity is kind of over. So keep an eye on the solar conditions over the next week and a half or so, because things are ramping up significantly with the sun as that big grouping, those 3 different active sunspot regions make their way around to us. I do want to talk about the FM Tropo opening we had this week. We're going to get to that here in a bit. Yeah, after this next DX session. We also want to talk about the new ATS-25 that we got and some of the antenna work we're going to do if we have time to get to that as well. But I want to launch our new frequency challenge. So we're going to say bye-bye to 1470 and 1480. And our new frequency challenge is going to be a very appropriately timed one for the next 2 weeks. Not 1, 2 weeks. So let us go over here and do this and so we're bringing back a very popular challenge from last year. So we did the themed based challenges last year in season 4. And one of the more popular ones was the country challenge. And how this one works is we're looking for countries. And this is why we're doing it, because we have an opportunity with the solar conditions being what they are to get some countries. So the goal here is obviously to hear as many countries as you can, but you're also we're doing a point system on this one. So the first log you get from a country is 5 points. And then the second log you get is 10 points. And then after you've gotten the 10 points, then any more logs from that country don't give you any extra points. Now, I encourage you to log as many stations as you can from all these different countries, but only the first 2 logs are going to count towards the points. And then for countries like Antigua, British Virgin Islands, there's a couple of others where there's only 1 station. If you log that station, you get the full 10 points. And I've got the list, so I already know kind of what we're working with there. We're using the IRCA country list, which we'll have linked on our challenge page. We'll already have that in the description of the challenge, so you can use that to help you. That's where you'll see things like San Andres and Providencia. We're using that IRCA country list as our kind of beacon of what we're going to use for countries. But that is now active. I just hit publish, so that is now active on the challenge site. So if you go to the challenge site, dxchallenges.com, and if you're registered, which I highly recommend that you do, I highly recommend you register. That way you can have fun and take advantage of these challenges along with us. You go to the challenge part of the site, and the current season frequency challenge, you'll find the challenge page there, and it's for weeks 9 and 10. So we're doing this week, and then the following week. This will take us all the way up to the 19th, and then we're going to start another challenge after that. The country challenge, 2 weeks, as many countries as you can hear. Try to get at least 1, if not 2 logs from every country. U.S. does count as a country, so get your 2 logs in there from the United States. It doesn't have to be an easy one. I mean, it's probably what most of us are going to do is just knock an easy one out for the points, but mean, try to make it a little harder for yourself. Try to stretch a little bit, get a new one in there if you can. But definitely for the countries, the goal in there is to get as many countries as you can, at least 2 logs per country, if the country has 2 stations that they broadcast with. All right, let's do some DX. Now, this DX session is brought to us by the IRCA, International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org. This time we got it right, ircaonline.org. That's where we're going for membership information, the publications that they have on the IRCA and so forth. Now, with our new vertical, I actually did a thing this week, and I took my RSP DX R2 that we have here, and we hooked it up to our vertical. We put a splitter on there, and we've got the low noise vertical coming into both the Kiwi and SDR console here with our RSP DX. So I can actually run some recordings, some broadband recordings with the low noise vertical. So we did one this evening from sunset, did one yesterday morning from sunrise, and that's been producing for us. We've been getting some good stuff on it. So there we go. We're going to DX right here since we are now in country hunting phase. We're going to look at our beacon frequencies and just check out the Latin American conditions. You guys know what we typically look at here on these. We're on the shortwave Central Kiwi, and we're looking for Latin America because we're looking to haul in some countries here as we get to the top of the hour and the start of the new country challenge tonight. So here we go. Let's start on 1510 and just see how Ecuador is looking. This is always my first stop, because this tells me so much about what I need to know about the conditions. Earl, yes, fantastic point. Alaska, Hawaii, and Newfoundland. Those are separate countries. So definitely Alaska and Hawaii are. I'm pretty sure Newfoundland is right. Isn't that on the list?
It's the place. True or false? Correct. All right, give me something specific. What is?
I'll have to go back and double check. I haven't looked at that list in a while.
I do about 2 hours at work, and then I sit on my phone the rest of the day just to get my hours so I can have money.
So we've got LAC in there.
Now, Matthew, I am so glad you called today, because I think there are literally millions of people that are going to hear this. And folks, I want to make sure you hear what Matthew just said.
And we're going to the IRCA list.
Feeling burned out. True or false, Matthew?
True.
And Matthew is feeling burned out, not because he's working too hard. He's not working enough.
Do they call it something else, Neil? Or Earl on the IRCA list? I don't see Newfoundland on here. Hawaii, definitely. Alaska, definitely.
Human beings are wired here, created by our Creator, to work, to progress, to...
Let's see. Oh, yeah, Newfoundland and Labrador. Well, I'm sorry. Nope. That's now under the deleted countries list on the IRCA country list. Newfoundland and Labrador is no longer considered a separate country. Hawaii and Alaska are, though, for our West Coast folks. So the form will go live here at 0200. El Condor Paso was on 1090 and 770. Peru, Rick.
But it also is interesting, and it's enough of a challenge that you have to apply yourself.
Louisiana, separate country.
However,
yes, especially down on the below I-10. Below I-10, it's a whole other country.
Simple fix. We don't want to run away from something.
Charles says Japan's easier than Hawaii.
I don't think that something is another.
Korea too, South Korea too.
Company, and I'm going to stick with that. So hey, thanks for being honest. And you can fix this real easy. Go somewhere where you can work, my man.
I'll put the IRCA country list in here as well in the chat. This is also on the description of our challenge for the week in case you need to reference that.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert.
we're going mic off. So listen for the sound. If you hear that, means we got an ID off one of these stations. I'm going to bounce around to some beacon frequencies here.
Are run by drama queens, and their job. Listen to here can be found there. HomecomingRecord.com. For the paint, goes off the color to Cleveland. Double it out to Vincent into a three from about. No good. Rebound tips.
Desde la sede, el presidente de la Federación Cubana de Boxeo, Alberto de la Barca. Olímpico de París, la jornada también a este nivel, jugar en las leyes con su medallista de bronce en el certamen boleta del mundo en 2021 y también en otra deportivo, los bombos de ganglios inflamados en cuello y axilas, dolor de cabeza, vómito, corrimiento, aparición de moretes con facilidad, dolor en las coyunturas
y mira, cuando uno da sin interés, cuando es genuino, esa actitud de dar, el dar.
With all the holiday entertaining you'll be hosting this Christmas, we know you.
Vamos a publicidad. Cha es más que un ritmo. Es una exquisita producción de cocina cubana con tendencias internacionales, donde cada plato cuenta un ritmo coreano. Esto es creatividad, historia y el sabor auténtico de Cuba en pleno corazón de la fiesta. Gastronomía y coctelería convergen en una gran diversidad vibrante en un ambiente elegante que convive con la historia. Cha es un espacio dedicado para que disfrutan del detalle y exigen lo mejor. Síguenos en Instagram, @chachacha.com, Facebook, Chachacha Bar Restaurante y el más 53 51 96 88 88, más 56 78 7 22 50. Estamos en el restaurante 159
de lunes a viernes, aquí en Reverde, se habla deportivamente desde las 8 de la noche. Escuchen durante 2 horas y media a los mejores cronistas cubanos en béisbol, boxeo, voleibol, atletismo, extensivos y criterios, conversando con la gran familia deportiva de Cuba. De lunes a viernes, se habla deportivamente en las 8 de Reverde.
Avenida número 238 entre el 9 de mayo y Aranjuez, Esquina Plaza. O a través del teléfono 5215-3190 o 5215-0601. Contacta los demás por el
Okay, so a couple things to talk about here. Let me mute the audio here. So Barry has a question. Could the carrier at 780.004 be Peru? I think they're right here at 780.09. I think that's the offset I have listed for at least for Radio Vision, if that's who you're talking about. I don't know about Radio Nacional and Tumbes. They're at what 0035. That might be who you're talking about. I don't have anything on that one here. I have this one over here that was kind of showing up for a second. I think that's the Radio Vision in Lima over here. But we heard an ID in there from Radio Viva. So that's who we have here on 780 with the audio, with the music and stuff, is Radio Viva Pasto in Colombia. And then we go to 1180. And I had some pop music in there, and I know that sometimes. So what happens is 1180 is a rebeldy wall. It's one of the frequencies with a wall of rebeldies, and so there's just like 20 or 30 transmitters on this island, all running rebeldy. And so what happens sometimes on some of these rebeldy walls is every once in a while you'll have where some of the stations are running rebeldy AM and some of them are running rebeldy FM, which plays more music and pop music and stuff like that. Usually it's a little more contemporary, but I mean, Caribbean Queen by Billy Ocean, that can be contemporary for sometimes some of these Cuban stations. But then I didn't hear a rebeldy ID in there, unless I missed it. Jacob, I know you're pretty in tune on that rebeldy FM as well. I didn't hear an ID from them. I heard the rebeldy sounder, but that was on the AM side. The AMs that were underneath that were parallel 670. So there's one of the things you can do here. There's 1180. Here's 670. God, their audio is awful. This is a rebeldy wall on 670, which is why you'll have like an echo sometimes on 1180 or 670. You hear like the same station kind of echoing a little bit. That's the rebeldy wall because they're not well synced, all these 20, 30 transmitters. So you'll hear this. That's traditional rebeldy AM. You can hear them underneath. That's where we heard the da 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 da. That's the rebeldy sounder. We heard that underneath the pop station. Now the pop station could be their FM. It also could be Mexico. That's what I was trying to see when she was doing the che. I didn't hear an ID. If that was Cuba or maybe the Mexican that's there. There's also Radio Marti out of Marathon Key. Now I don't know if they're still broadcasting or not with some of the VOA stuff that's happened. I don't even know if Radio Marti is even still on the air. I have no idea because they're not beaming towards the United States. They beam towards the South. And so a lot of times if you'll go down, if it's up, let's see, is it up right now? No, it's not. The Kiwi down here in Bonaire, Transworld Radio Bonaire, they can hear. Now, this is what's crazy. They're down here off the coast of Venezuela, right? Right in this area down in here, they don't hear Cuba very well, but they hear Miami or down here, Marathon Key, VOA, Radio Marti very well down here because Radio Marti is beaming towards Cuba. All the Cubans are beaming towards Miami. So down here with Cuba between them, you can hear Cuba, but not super loud. Marti is. That's what the crazy little nuances to the AM dial in the Caribbean with all that stuff going on. So, but like I said, I don't even know if Marti is still on the air or not. Jacob says they're back on shortwave, which that's awesome. I'm not sure about their AM though. So, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we have more live DX to get to. We'll be doing some more looking at our beacon frequencies. Monumental was kind of 910 was kind of So I don't think this is a super strong Latin night tonight, but there might be a couple of easy catches we can try to knock out of the park and give you guys some help on, like Mexico, Cuba, some of those that are a little easier for us. We got to talk about the FM Tropo from this week, the Gulf Tropo that went to our southeast, and we'll look at the Tropo forecast to see if we're going to get any repeats or anyone else going to get any action this week. We got DX tests to talk about. Coming up in a couple of months, we have 3 6-hour DX tests out west. So we're going to be talking about those and getting you the date so you can do a save a date. We got to talk about our antenna work. And some of the things that we're going to be doing here, maybe this weekend if it'll ever stop raining. And our new gear, our ATS 25 that is here. We'll talk about that and my initial thoughts on this little radio because, it's a little bit different. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. And of course, more of your shout outs right after this here on DX Central Live. Don't go anywhere, my friends. More is on the way.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central. Central North Shore Studios. This is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, every Friday night at 0045 UTC. That's 1845 Central Time. Talking DX, we're talking our new challenge we just launched, the country challenge. For the next 2 weeks, the goal is to hear as many countries as you can. And along with that, you're trying to get 2 logs per country. So if you get 1 log, you get 5 points for that. You get 2 logs, you get 10 points, max of 10 points for each country. So that's your goal. Get at least 1, if not 2, from each country, and then you're golden. Let's talk about some FM DX because this was unexpected. I didn't. So we've had a cold front kind of lingering around, and I knew we were about to get a bunch of rain starting yesterday on Thursday, but Wednesday we were sitting here and we had this great AM DX happening, right? There was Southern Enhancement going down to our south on AM. And so I'm sitting there and I was, I don't even remember what the thought process was, what it was that made me think about it. But I said, let's take a look at the auto loggers, my FM auto loggers. And so I did, and I saw, we have a path open down to the southeast to the Gulf Coast of Florida. And I didn't know, I didn't know that was coming. I hadn't checked the Tropo forecast, so I didn't notice that. And so I turned on the radio, and sure enough, I probably missed the best part of that opening, but sure enough, we had an opening. So spent some time that night doing some recordings, and so now I've got several hours worth of recordings to go through. And we had folks that were jumping on our FM web servers, which you can find at livedxing.com, by the way. Just go to livedxing.com and scroll down, and you'll see our web servers. You can also get them directly from fmdx.org's web server list. See, this was the 5th, was the 4th? I think the 4th was the day. Yeah, there it is. So this was our Tropo opening. You can see here there was some stuff from Florida up into Georgia and Alabama, up this way. But let me just do ours that we had here. Here we go. So this was ours. We had 34 stations logged on this one. Now, some of these were new. Most of them were relogs. So we're about 5, maybe 6 new ones in here. We saw Georgia in here. We had Alabama. We had Mississippi. We had a bunch of Florida. But several of the Floridas were the new ones, including a couple out of Orlando and Mount Dora the Explorer. We had some Mount Dora showed up, which I hadn't heard Mount Dora since I was in Charleston. We used to get FM Tropo from Charleston, South Carolina over here all the time down in Orlando. Like I could sit at the beach any day I wanted to and hear Orlando from the beach in Charleston. Anytime I ever went to the beach and brought a radio with me, I would turn, even if like the rest of there was no Tropo, every single time, I'm talking year around, every time I went to the beach and I had an FM radio with me, I would turn it on and there was Orlando. Every single time. Mount Dora. All of these stations that we're talking about. But I finally heard them here from Mandeville. So we had a couple of new ones in here. Here's the list of all the stuff. And you'll see here, I flag any that are new. I flag that here. I flag new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we had 7 new ones. Graceville, Ocala, which was, I think, later on, Orlando, Bonita Springs, Sanibel, and Port Charlotte. Those were the new ones that we had here. So this was out ahead. So it was a little bit of a mugginess out ahead of this front and the weather that we've had the last couple of days here. And so I should have thought about that, but I didn't until it was kind of in the middle of the event. So let's take a look now at Bill Hepburn's Tropo forecast. And this won't probably take long because I don't think there's much. So this was as of the 12 o'clock today, 12 o'clock this afternoon. And then we skip forward. It's right now, 0200. So this would be top of the hour. This is what we should be seeing. Mostly, we've kind of cleared out. We got that kind of cold air kind of filling in now down here in the southeast. So this is the time of the year where you'll see these fronts come through. And out of the head of the front, it's like yellows and oranges and reds. And then behind it, it's just nothing. There's just nothing there. Now, we do see a little bit of the blue and green kind of filling in here as we get into maybe Sunday night. Sunday morning, Saturday night. So that looks interesting. And then maybe a little bit here on Tuesday. Now, as we get out later into the week here, these later runs, I don't put any credence behind them, but maybe something at least keep an eye on. That maybe Tuesday morning, Monday, there might be some Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Arkansas area, like this little Delta region Tropo happening. And it's not going to be super strong. We're talking in the fair to moderate, maybe high range, isolated highs. But that's as of today, as of Friday. Again, Tuesday's kind of far out. And then we see that kind of back off and then flare back up again when we get to Wednesday morning. So if I had to guess, I haven't looked at the forecast yet. My guess is next week, we're going to have some muggy mornings down here. The humidity is going to return. The cold air is going to kind of clear out a little bit. We'll have some mugginess or something like that. But looking back here, maybe something off the South Carolina, Georgia coast in here. Some fair amount of tropo kind of building in. Right here along the East Coast, maybe Wednesday. Again, I don't put a ton of credence this far out. Maybe a little bit of a repeat here Tuesday out into the afternoon of some decent tropo. Nothing super crazy. So this is kind of typical for what we see this time of the year. So from a forecast perspective, you can kind of see the rest of everybody else up here in the New England area, Atlantic coast, Mid-Atlantic, and the Great Lakes. Just nothing. Nothing all week. If you're south of the North Carolina, Tennessee line, except for this little blurb here in the Delta region that kind of gets into Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee over here. Except for that, everybody else is pretty much out of the tropo for right now. So I don't see anything on the horizon that's really looking too favorable for tropo conditions for the most of the U.S. So again, something to kind of keep in mind this time of the year. If you're in like constant cold, the air is going to be pretty stable and you're not going to probably see a whole lot of tropo. Maybe, probably not. But if you're anywhere near a coastline and you're having some fronts come through and things like that, you definitely want to keep an eye on the tropo forecast because you might get that little burst that shows up when you least expect it. All right. We talked about FM. We talked about the sun. Let's talk about DX tests. So we're going to go here. This is the IRCA reflector, email reflector. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to social media because I think he made some corrections. Oh, I got to do that whole sign in thing on Facebook. Come on. Our friend Paul Walker up in Alaska and a member of the Courtesy Program Committee, CPC, who sets up DX tests. We organize those DX tests with the stations themselves, and he has a contact that has done some DX tests in the past with us, the CPC, and he's about to snag a handful of stations out in California and become an owner of those stations, and so he's going to do some DX tests with us in February. So we're going to give you the details here. So here I'm going to give you the save dates for each of these DX tests that we're looking at. Once I can get signed into Facebook here and get Paul's message here. Now, again, these are in February. Let's keep that in mind. Our save dates are, and I'm going to give these to you in UTC date and time. Okay. Keep that in mind. UTC date and time. Very important. This is from 0801 to 1359 UTC on February the 6th. That is going to translate to 12:01 a.m. Pacific time to 5:59 a.m. Pacific time. Okay. On February the 6th of 2026, right? Coming up next couple months, KTOX 1340 in Needles, California. It's a 1 kilowatt non-directional. It's on a graveyard frequency. Now, a lot of folks are thinking, I'm not going to hear that's on a graveyard. I heard Oklahoma, KXXY, I think was the call sign, on 1340 doing a DX test from North Carolina. Okay? Just because it's a graveyard frequency, don't think it's not going to happen. It's going to be tough. It's going to be harder, but it can happen. All right? So definitely something to kind of think about. 12:01 a.m. to 5:59 a.m. Pacific time. Again, is 0801 to 1359 UTC on the 7th. So the next day, we are on the same frequency, 1340, 1 kilowatt non-directional KTPI in Mojave, California. So now we've got two 1340 DX tests, one out of Needles, California, one out of Mojave, California, one on February the 6th, one on February the 7th. And this is, again, Pacific time, 0801 UTC to 1359 UTC. Okay. And then for both of those DX tests, one on the 6th, one on the 7th. And then the next day, the 8th, Same time, 0801 UTC to 1359 UTC. That's 1201 a.m. to 5:59 a.m. Pacific time. KKZI 1310 in Barstow, California. So not a graveyarder. They are running 1 kilowatt non-directional for this DX test under the details spec in their pending construction permits. They have a construction permit on file with the FCC, and this will give them a chance to kind of test out with the new parameters, the 1 kilowatt non-directional. So 3 stations in California, 2 on 1340, 1 on 1310, February 6th, 7th, and 8th. Save the date, 0801 UTC to 1359 UTC. Is it going to be a challenge? Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to definitely want to have your ears on for these. Is it possible you're going to be able to hear them? Yeah. Yes, it is. There's a lot of stations on these frequencies, especially 1340. But you'd be surprised how far Morse code and sweeps and tones and all the other stuff that we have on these DX tests. You'd be very surprised how far those get out. So we are going to be running a live stream for each one of these DX tests. We'll do a lot of it off camera. I love you guys, but I can't do 6 hours on camera, especially that late into the evening. Especially, let me see one of those are going to be what day of the week. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, that Sunday I have to go to work the next day. So I'm not gonna. I'll leave it running. So you guys can hear if there's anything in there. But on camera, I don't think so. But save the dates: February 6th, 7th, and 8th, from 8:01 UTC to 1359 UTC on each of those dates. Right. So this is, for everybody, for all of the U.S., East Coast, West Coast, everybody. This is after midnight. Right. So it's going to be on that date. It's going to be on the 6th, 7th, and 8th on those days at 0801 to 1359 UTC. 3 DX tests, all 1 kilowatt non-directional, 2 on 1340, 1 on 1310. So that's going to be a very, very interesting DX test. Our West Coast folks, I'm very excited for you guys because you're going to have a very good shot at getting these. For everybody else, we're going to have a challenge on our hands, but it should be a lot of fun. This is what I remember DX tests being, right? It's not all of them like big stations that, everybody's going to have a shot to hear, like a big clear frequency that everyone's going to hear. Those are nice, especially if it's something that you need or a state that you need, right? But a good, real like DX test in the mud, DX test like that, when you're kind of going up against it, those challenging ones, those are the ones that are most fun because they push you to think, to strategize, to get everything together so you can get that DX test in your logbook. We'll be sharing on our website, on the challenge website, and on DX Central Live. We'll be sharing all the details of the DX test, days, times, the QSL information, because there's some specific stuff you're going to want to know about the DX test QSLing and who you send it to and what you got to send and when you have to send it by. Like there's some very specific stuff in here we have to abide by. We're going to put all that up on the DX Central Live website. So we'll be sharing that as we get a little bit closer. But just want to make sure you guys go ahead and put those on your calendar, save those dates, February 6th, 7th, and 8th for those DX tests. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the ATS 25. So, let's just turn it on. You can see the screen. Okay. Kind of see the screen a little bit here. There we go. So this reminds me of the TEF with a different software inside. Some things that I really like about it. You have your usual antenna attachment here, but it's a BNC. It's a BNC antenna attachment. Not SMA. It's a BNC. I'm a big fan of that. I like BNC antenna connections. Lock it. It ain't going anywhere, right? You've got a separate Wi-Fi antenna. This does use like an SMA connection, but you have a separate Wi-Fi antenna on the back. I wish the TEF radios had that because a lot of us who have auto loggers and online receivers, the biggest drawback is that tiny little itty bitty Wi-Fi antenna that's inside the radio and those TEFs, they don't do super great with Wi-Fi, so you get a lot of drops and things like that. This has a separate Wi-Fi antenna, so really, really, really cool. The controls are easy. It's just one knob. That's it. You got one knob. Now you have on the back here, you have a switch to be able to switch between like FM, AM, shortwave, things like that. You have an on-off switch. It's in the back. So this is definitely going to be one. You're not like my TEF radios. I have them kind of on a shelf, kind of tucked in, out of the way. I don't know that I could do that with this one. This is going to be very handy as a portable. But I would also imagine if you're going to use it in the shack, you're going to want to have access to be able to get to the back here so you can turn it on, because that's where the power is. There is a USB port here for charging, and that is a USB-C. You can also use that for downloading for like firmware updates and stuff like that, which I have not done that yet. I don't know what that process looks like for this particular radio. I'm going to do some research and looking into that hopefully here soon. There is a headphone. It says phone head. Phone head. There is a headphone jack in the back. It's one of the 1/8 inch minis. And that's really it for controls. You have one knob on the front. Now, this is a touch screen, and it does come with the stylus. Now, the other styluses that I've seen come with radios, a lot of times are magnetic, so it would like stick to the radio. This is not. I anticipate fully losing this. But that's okay, because I didn't even know that this stylus came. And so the first night that I was using this, I was fat fingering it with, the touchscreen this way, and it worked fine. It comes with a little cloth to keep the screen clear. It does also, it has a little plastic film that comes over the screen here. When you first get it, you'll be able to peel it off. Now, all the other little plastic screens are like the electrostatic thing, where it kind of just like peel it off and it comes right off because it's like solid plastic. This is like saran wrap almost, is what it felt like. And when I tried to pull it off, I tried to like pull it out because it's kind of underneath. You can actually, maybe, I'm not, probably not. It's underneath this little corner, this little side over here. So when I tried to pull it, I was just kind of stretching it. What you have to do is kind of pull it up against the metal part right here and rip it down. And then it rips right off and it's fine. I didn't realize that at first, so I've got a little piece of plastic here in the corner. It's going to drive me crazy. Just the one antenna port. So your AM antenna, your FM antenna, whatever you're going to use is going to be through here. I have not tried it on AM yet, so I have no idea how it does on AM. We'll see. I know there are some DXers out there that have success with it. I see a lot of posts on social media with this screen face on it, people getting catches, but I haven't personally tried it. I don't know what antenna I'm going to run with it, but I'm going to do something with that here soon. It does also come with these little vinyl rubber feet that you stick on. I just put them on. They haven't come off yet. I don't know how long they'll stick on, but you put the vinyl feet on there, little rubber feet, and it does a good job of keeping it from moving around, which is nice. I did try this out with FM, and I tried it out the evening that we had the Tropo opening. And it did really good. Now I didn't run a comparison. I should have run a comparison with our TEF radio that we have here to see how they kind of compared. But I didn't think of it at the time until actually just now. But it did a good job. I was pulling in stuff from Florida. I went out in the front yard with this. And I extended out the antenna, and I was running it kind of horizontal towards the southeast. And it was picking up a lot of the FM out of Florida that my big antennas were. So, again, when the band is open, but it didn't hold me back that I could tell. I didn't notice it holding me back on the FM side. Again, I haven't tried the AM yet. We're going to probably do that pretty soon. I might try putting the vertical on here and seeing how it does. But it's the ATS-25 Max decoder. I got it from AliExpress. So you can go look up on AliExpress. I want to say it was, I don't remember how much it was. ATS-25 Max decoder is what you're looking for here. So I'll continue to do some more testing on it and give you guys my thoughts. But just my initial gut reaction. The controls are pretty intuitive. So it's easy to learn for the most part. I haven't run into any issues of trying to learn anything. I was kind of trying to figure out the volume thing, and there's a button on here on the touchscreen for volume specifically. But you don't even have to do that. You can actually just tap the knob, like push in on the volume, the big knob that's on here, the only one that's on here. And then as you turn it, you're doing the volume. And if you tap on it again, now you're adjusting squelch back and forth. And then if you tap it on a third time, it goes back to your main screen, your frequency. And now that knob turns your frequency. So there, yeah, I was able to get the 200 kilohertz step to finally work. At first it wasn't working, but I got it to eventually work. So yeah, it's got a nice battery indicator on here that shows me 54% battery, which is cool to have the actual percentage on there instead of like the voltage. It does have RDS. It's kind of hard to see, and I was hoping here to have an option. Let me mute this real quick. I was hoping there would be an option on the RDS to make it bigger, but it didn't really. It's kind of tiny, and I may be wrong, but I've only gotten the RDS to work when I change the menu option to go to the menu that has an RDS button on it. And then once you do that, now the RDS shows up. So you have to actually be on the RDS button for the RDS to actually show, which I'm not a big fan of that, because what if I'm wanting to do something with one of the other buttons and now I've lost my RDS? Well, I say that now it's showing still. It's showing up the RDS. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I haven't played with this a whole lot. But the RDS is kind of small, and I'm not seeing like a PI code. I'm just kind of seeing like the program information on here. So, that is definitely one thing where the TEF wins, because they actually, you can actually see the actual PI code on the TEF. So again, I'll do some more testing on this. I'll do some testing on AM to see how it does on AM, but, just as a pure receiver for FM, at least so far, it's doing pretty good. I don't think there's any way right now to use this like an auto logger or anything like that. So it would definitely be one that you're just kind of using it for live DX. But you know, it's pretty small, as you can kind of see. Here's the form factor on it. It's not too big. So I can definitely see, you know, being able to throw this into a go bag or whatever, a little, you know, bag with an antenna that you might take out to the beach or the lake or park or whatever, or out in your backyard even, and be able to do some Tropo or some E-skip or some FM DX. This might actually work pretty good. So it's pretty nice so far. So I'll continue, like I said, to do some testing on that. I'm also doing some more testing on this little guy that I showed last week or a couple weeks ago. This is the same basic radio as this one, but it's a tiny little pocket version of it. And it has this little loop antenna, which, yeah, that little, this little loop, yeah. I haven't connected a good antenna to it yet, but we'll see. I'm going to lose this stylus. I know I will. It also has the USB-C cable that it comes with as well. The other piece of gear that we got this week is the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. You guys know I've got several of these already. We're running one right now here in the shack. Here it is. This is right out the box. I just took it out of the box for the first time. It comes with the AirSpy. It also comes with a USB cable. And that USB cable does have a ferrite choke on here. At least one. I think is there two now? There was one last time I got one. Now it looks like there's two. So it does come with that. Why did I get another AirSpy? Well, because it was on sale. No, it's because the Kiwi that we have at Mamacita's house, the big Latin American Kiwi with the big Kaz antenna. The Kiwi doesn't have an option to do broadband recording. So I can DX, I can live DX, and I can like record, but I can't record like the band. I can record like one frequency at a time or a couple frequencies at a time at the most. If I do like log in multiple sessions at one time. So I can't like record like the band and then go later and review and what I got. And with an antenna that powerful and that significant for Latin America, I'd like to have something. And I'd also like to be able to use the co-channel canceller with that as well to get rid of like interference and stuff and pest stations. So we've got an extra laptop, one of my dad's old laptops at her house that we're going to plug this into. And I'm going to get a little splitter that's on the way. And we're going to split that Kiwi antenna between the Kiwi and the AirSpy. And then I'm going to remote connect using Chrome Remote Desktop from that laptop into my computer here at the house, or vice versa, I guess, from my computer here at the house into that laptop. And then I can run a recording if I want to hit record or schedule something, and I can transfer files and do all of the stuff I need to do. So that's why we have that. And so we're going to run that. And then we're also going to take our RSP Duo that we have, and this is the next part of the project we're working on. We're going to do a phasing setup at her place with the RSP Duo. Now, here's what we have. You guys know that we have the I'm getting ahead of myself. We have the 35-foot low noise vertical that I've been talking about nonstop since I put it up, because it's that good. Okay. Once I put the common mode choke on that antenna, it's that good. It is super, super quiet. When all the other antennas have noise, it doesn't. It's super quiet, and the signal strength, even with a 35-foot wire, is really, really good. It's really, really good. That high Z amplifier from Jeff, I forget his name, up in Ontario, Mr. Green, I remember his last name. It's $100 for the amplifier with the bias T, shipping, everything. It's $100 total. Well worth it. I mean, it's a really, really... Now, you don't have to have the amplifier for the antenna, but I know it gives you a really good match. It gives you a bit of a boost in signal, so it's recommended. Now, our friend Barry Bankston and I were talking this week on the Slack channel, and he has a vertical. So you guys know he's been running all kinds of different antennas over the last couple of years, and you've seen the success that he's had. Well, before the season started, he actually changed his antenna setup. He has a 63-foot vertical, 63 foot in a tree. He used fishing line to get it up over a tree limb. So it's a piece of wire that's 63 foot long, up straight up in the air, straight-ish up in the air. It's got a ground rod, and then he's got a transformer that he hand wound. And that's his match. He doesn't use an amplifier on it because it's that big. You don't need an amplifier really. But he has a matching transformer that he hand wound, and one side comes in from the antenna, the other goes to the ground rod, and then he has his feed line coming back to the shack. And you can do coax, you can do twisted pair, Cat 6, whatever you want to do there, but you got your feed line coming back to the shack. And then with that antenna, with that vertical, that 63-foot vertical, he's paired that through an MFJ 1026 phaser with a W6 LVP loop. And with that phaser, what he's able to basically do now, he's in Tennessee, right? So center-ish Tennessee, a little east of center Tennessee. With that phaser, think about this for a second. He was on 1110, and he sent me the clip, and I was just astonished. He goes in on 1110, and he uses that phaser in the vertical and the loop, right? He uses that to null out WBT in Charlotte, which is to his east, which is a massive station, massive signal. He gets rid of them entirely with the phaser, because you can get some really good nulls. Once you've done the modification, we have the video here on our YouTube channel on how to do the modification for the 1026 to make it worthy for AM. Once you do that modification, you can get some really deep nulls with the MFJ 1026. He gets rid of WBT entirely. And then what that leaves him with now, he's basically phased out stations to the east, and he's left with stations to the west. So he had KFAB coming in, right? Really good copy on KFAB there in Omaha. That'd be one thing if that was what you were doing. But he's able to then, once he's done that, once he's gotten that phase in, he can push the phase button and go back and forth between east and west. And he heard California, like he was a local on this thing with this setup. He's heard a bunch of transatlantic, even stuff down in like Africa. So he's seen some carriers and things like that down in like South Africa, stuff like that. He had Moldova. He's gotten quite a few. All the catches that he's gotten this season has been on with this setup. So with Barry's example, we're going to do that. So if it would ever stop raining here this weekend, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the feed line on my W6 LVP loop that we have here at the shack. It was the very first antenna that we put up here in Mandeville when we moved here. We're going to replace the feed line on that with some low loss RG11. Bring that into our MFJ 1026 phaser that we have. And then I'm going to have a splitter that we have right now between for the what you call it? The vertical, the 35-foot vertical that we have. That's going between the Kiwi and the RSPDX. Well, we're gonna instead of going to the RSPDX, I'm gonna take that and run that into the MFJ phaser, and then out of the phaser, we're gonna run that into the RSPDX. Okay, so now we're gonna have the vertical and the loop going into our phaser into the RSPDX, and we're going to try it out. We're going to see how the results are with that. And if that goes well, then the next step is I have another W6 LVP loop sitting over here on the other side of the house. We're going to take that down. We're going to take that over to Mamacita's house, and she's got some massive pine trees in her backyard. I can hit 50, 60 feet relatively easy with one of these things. So we're going to put up a 50, 60 foot antenna, matching transformer and everything. And we're going to duplicate this with our RSP Duo though. That way I can remotely connect in from here into that laptop I talked about a few moments ago. We're going to remotely connect in, and with the RSP Duo diversity mode, we're going to do the same phasing stuff with that loop and the vertical, but digitally. Instead of knobs on the phaser box, we're going to do that digitally with the diversity mode on the RSP Duo. So that's the antenna projects we have in our future here is taking down a W6 LVP loop that right now we're really not using, take it over to Mom's house, put that in pair on the RSP Duo with that hot low noise vertical big version, and then remote into that, and then do some DX off of that, and then the Air Spy off of the big Kiwi. So then we'd have the Air Spy with the big Kiwi CAS. We'd have the RSP Duo with the phasing setup, with the big vertical in the loop. We'd have the smaller vertical in the loop here. I'd have the mini whip still. So we'd have some options, right? We're going to have some options that we can take advantage of here at the house. Now I might, if that 63-foot vertical goes well at Mamacita's house, might bring down the mini whip and replace it with like a 45-foot vertical. We'd have two verticals here at the house, 135, 145 foot, just to give us some different options. I don't know if I do any phasing with that. I don't know. They're not going to be very far spaced apart, so something to kind of consider. So still thinking through that, but those are some antenna projects that we have coming up. So first thing is get the phasing and the loop and the vertical set up here, and then if we can do that, then take that over to her place, another loop, another vertical, into the RSP Duo using diversity mode that we remotely connect into. We're good to go. Okay. So that's what we have on store. All of this is hopefully going to help us get some more Latin American stuff in. And I'm really hopeful, really hopeful that this is also going to help us finally get into the Pacific Northwest to like Idaho, Oregon that we really need. I'm hopeful this will help us get some of that stuff out west that we're missing. Got Washington when we had Seattle in here a couple of years ago, and Vancouver, British Columbia, we have them in from a couple of years ago, but Oregon and Idaho need to be in the log. And then I would be turning my attention out east to Delaware, New Jersey, Rhode Island, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that off, but maybe some phasing might be able to pull it off. Who knows? We'll see. So that's what we have on deck for antenna projects. Okay. We've got another round of shout outs to get to here. And I know we're coming up on top of the hour as well. So we have a couple of things we need to get done here. Let me look for the shout outs. All right. We've got a handful left to do. Let's do a couple now before the top of the hour, and then we'll do some more after the top of the hour. How about that? So here we go.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM, from sea to sea. We celebrate the ones who slag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shoutouts making waves today.
All right, some shout outs to get to. Let's start with our friend, Mr. Neil Kazaros, up in Illinois. The man behind the antenna, for those of you who might not be aware. 1470 WTOE, North Carolina, Spruce Pine with AM and FM ID at 4 p.m. before WMBD was up to strength. So, once again, challenge giveth with a new log on 1470 for our friend Kaz. All right, well done. Well done, Kaz. So glad you're stopping by, man, and being part of the fun here on the live stream. And then I saw your response to my message I sent you. I'll be reaching out soon. I got to get us something scheduled. Earl up in Missouri, 1460 WRVK in Kentucky, heard at 2300 UTC this evening. That's broadcast band. Logging number 1,255. New log. I'm especially proud of this one simply because of the sheer clarity of the legal ID. I would love if you could play it on the show tonight. It's 24 seconds long. No trace of semi-local KHOJ. So we're going to play that here in a second. Let me do a couple more of these shout outs before we get to the top of the hour, and then we'll play that here for us. So new log for our friend Earl in Missouri. Our friend Neil Wolfish up in Ontario didn't manage to hear anything new on 1470 and 1480 this week, but I actually did hear two new stations, which is rare. WPVW in Minnesota on 1190 and WLOL Minneapolis on 1330 in Minnesota, both heard on November 28th at sunset 2200 UTC. So I want Minnesota. Come on, man. I don't know why Minnesota is so hard here, but it is. Dennis, congratulations, Neil, on the new catches there, man. Dennis in Virginia, some new catches this week. WCLA 1470 in Claxon, Georgia. WMGG 1470 Egypt Lake. Heard them a couple times this week. WYRN 1480 in Lewisburg, North Carolina. So some log saws for our friend Dennis. Three stations from Minnesota, but yet our friends Justin and Jacob up in Minnesota, they hear down this way all the time. Fair. It's not fair. Let's go ahead and play that clip from Earl here. This is his logging of WRVK in Kentucky on 1460 with no trace of semi-local KHOJ.
Children, have a great night, peaceful night. God bless.
This is WRVK 1460 AM and W249DT 97.7 FM, Mount Vernon, Kentucky.
There you go. Very, very clear recording. There's no doubt that one, right? There's some of those, right, where you get there, you're like, yeah, I think that's who that is. No doubt on that one. That's exactly who that was. We have one more air check to play and one more shout out to get to for Aiden. We're going to do that here after the top of the hour. Let's get to some live DX. This live DX session brought to you by, and it's not FM, it's AM. The Spectrum Monitor magazine, thespectrummonitor.com. Go get some information. This is a great time to do it. Get your subscription. Now, it's a yearly subscription when you subscribe. So if you pay for it, you get 12 months, right? The calendar 12 months. So coming up here, January, there will be a column in there on AM DX. Just saying, the January edition. I happen to know the guy who writes that column on AM and FM DX for the Spectrum Monitor, and I can tell you there will be a column on AM and or FM DX. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to write about, but there will be a column on either AM or FM DX coming up in the January edition of the Spectrum Monitor. So it's a good time to subscribe to the Spectrum Monitor, thespectrummonitor.com. Let's check for some stations here on the shortwave Central Kiwi. Let's look Latin America. We had a little more time now for the stations to percolate, the band to establish itself here. Let's see what we got.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert.
Estreno.
This has got to be that FM Rebellion feed, right, Jacob? Looking for 4 VEH, huh? We can check that tonight. Let me do this. We're going to hit record on our Air Spy, which is on the southeast antenna facing them. Let me hit, we got the Super Loop, East Super Loop audio recording. Let's go ahead and hit record here on the vertical. We have HDR modes engaged. Good. So we're going to hit record here on the vertical, the low noise vertical. So we'll check Rick and see if we get anything out of it. I got the vertical on it. I've got the southeast antenna on it. We've got the East Super Loop on it. And for giggles here, we'll also run an audio recording on the low noise vertical on the Kiwi, just in case that gives me a different look. I don't know. So we shall give them a shot. Barry and Rick both wanting to see if they're still in the air. I heard them recently when we did the Gray Line Challenge. When we did the Gray Line Challenge, I heard them that week. So I know that they were there as of that week. That was what, week 4? We're now in week 9. So about 5 weeks ago, I know they were on the air. But we'll see if they are there tonight. 670. I think someone was asking about this one earlier. This is Radio Rebeldi. Radio Rebeldi out of Cuba. If you're looking for a country, Cuba's a good one. 1180. I want to know who this is on 1180. I think it's probably the FM Rebellion, but we'll see. So that's 1180. I'm probably getting all kinds of copyright hell right now. Let's go back and look at some of our other beacons. And we're going to come back and check our recordings for 840.
President Trump receiving an award at the FIFA.
So there's Radio Monumental underneath WLAC. So the Spanish station we hear here underneath WLAC is Ecuador.
Presenting Trump a medal and a golden trophy, and holding a soccer ball in the spirit of sports uniting people.
This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and
Let's go to 910.
We saved millions and millions.
Nah. Let's just check 1090. Now, after the last couple of nights of great Latin America, let's just see. We're going to pull up the Radio Vision stream here.
De una profundidad tremenda. Apártate del mal. Aleluya.
There's Pastor Rodriguez.
Apártate del mal.
Very soft-spoken right now.
Joven, acuérdate de
Nah, he's not in there. There's somebody else, though. Probably Colombia. There's a couple of Spanish stations in there.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Kelly Dickerson, and it's the daughter of a school teacher. I know just how important education is, no matter how old you are or your situation.
A Panasonic RF 2200 at Goodwill for $5.
Didn't even know what
My Lord.
whether it's a foreign language, history, or a different way to look at them.
That is...
To learn something. That's
910, I'm not hearing. I mean, San Andreas usually is on top here, right? I'm sure they're in there, but they're not super strong. So it doesn't look like a very good Latin night tonight, which is unfortunate. But let's just take a gander, just in case, and see. I'll move this up here. If we got 4 VEH out of Haiti here on our recording. So we're going to stop the recording. We're going to pull it up here in SDR Sharp with our baseband file player. And then we go find the file. Here it is. So we really kind of focusing on that top of the hour right there. We're listening for the Dashing Through the Snow. So let's hit play and unmute. Go here to 840. Now this is on my Southeast CAS antenna. And we just got rid of WHAS using AirSpy's code channel canceller. Oh, how much I love that thing. I don't hear it. Now, the fact that I did not hear Haiti there, or I'm not hearing Haiti here just yet, is not indicative necessarily that Haiti is gone, because we don't get a really good look at Haiti from here, which is weird. Which is very weird, because I should. Them and Dominican Republic should be a lot louder than they are, but for whatever reason, they're not. I don't know what it is about them. Maybe it's just the range that they're at is we're a little too close for that single skip range. It's possible. So Rick wants to know who this is that we're getting. De la noche. I want to say this is probably W, which is CMHW in Cuba. I want to say that's likely who this is, but I didn't hear an ID. And normally they're pretty good about IDing, but there are sometimes this time of night, coincidentally, when they're not necessarily great about it. That is one of the things that we have. And I wanted to mention this as well. If you go to our dxchallenges.com website, go to resources, unique sounds of Latin America. This will also help you guys with the country challenge, by the way. So for this country challenge, if you're looking for targets, we have 3 things here on our website that are going to help you. Okay. One of these is here, resources, unique sounds of Latin America. This gives you some things that you can listen for. Like we have the little jingle here for Radio Viva that we've played a million times. One more time. Da-na-na-na. One more time. If you hear that little na-na-na-na on 780, that's Radio Viva Pasta. They have a longer form version here. Right? So this is some stuff that's here for you guys to use. That's why it's here. I want you guys to be able to use this to help you get stations in your log or countries even in your log. So please make sure you're using these resources that are available to you. Here's Caracol Radio, and there are multiple outlets of Caracol Radio in Colombia. 810 is probably the most commonly heard. And so we have an ID from them in here, but I'm scrolling down here, and this is why I wanted to bring this up. W on 840 normally has a very, very distinct ID. See if you can catch it.
Esta es W.
So that little keyboard, little jingle thingy there, man, that is distinct. It sticks out, and they traditionally are pretty good about playing that and doing their WAID. Now, you'll even see here when I made my notes on this, when I put this up last year, in recent DXing sessions, the station seems to be playing more music than they previously did. That would match what we heard on the recording just now. So likely it's WA, but I don't know for sure without an ID. Would I log it? Probably not. Would I put that in the log as WA based on what we heard? Probably not, because I don't have enough information to validate that that's who I heard. I would need something else, right, to help me with that, not just a format match. There's a bunch of stuff on this page that you can use, a bunch of different sounds. Here's what we were talking about with Haiti. Here's what you're listening for, okay? You're going to want some headphones with this one. This is Haiti, 4VEH, Dancing Through the Snow. One more time. There you go. That's what we're listening for there on 840 from Haiti, but I didn't hear that on the recording. There's some more here. There's Honduras. We're going to be adding some more here, hopefully this week, if we get good conditions where I can add some of these other unique sounds that we hear. I did want to call out one down here, San Andres and Providencia here, which is part of Colombia, but it counts as its own country. So for the purposes of the country challenge, San Andres on 910 is its own country, okay? They have changed their branding. They're no longer RCN Radio, okay? But they still do play the RCN imaging, the little sounder logo. Listen to this. That little La FM. That's what you'll hear now. Instead of RCN Radio, you'll hear La FM. Da-na-na-na-na. That's them. that's what Law FAMA still plays to this day. 910, 770, I think 1000's another outlet. There's several outlets in here for Eres, well, what was Eres is now Law FAMA. So some things to look out for there. We also have here at the bottom our 3-part series we did on like the top 10 countries you can hear from Latin America with some targets and some audio samples for you to try for. That's here as well. Rick, that is on dxchallenges.com. And then at the top up here where it says resources, the unique sounds of Latin America. That's where you'll find it right here. So dxchallenges.com, our challenge website, right, where everybody submits their stuff. Resources, unique sounds of Latin America. So all of those are there. There's also another page here for the anthems of Latin America. So country anthems are here. So there's Bonaire, there's Colombia. So now you can go to YouTube and look them up, but there's something different about hearing it through the static that makes a little bit of a difference. So you get to hear it as it is on the radio. So Bonaire is here. Colombia, there's a long version and a short version from them. Cuba, there's an instrumental, there's a vocal version. Mexico has a bunch of different variations of their national anthem, including some for their indigenous stations. There's children's choir, there's a adult choir, there's a long version, there's a short version, there's all kinds of stuff. So the basic premise, though, you'll get to hear it here on the recording if you listen to it, is but there's also state anthems for a lot of the states in Mexico. So you'll have like, here is the Estado de Mexico, Quintana Roo. This one goes on for like 12 minutes. It's crazy. So if you're hearing like what sounds like an anthem, check our page. We might have it up here. We have a lot of the bigger ones. I'm trying to get better quality. Are we really disconnected? Hopefully we're still connected. Hopefully you guys are still getting me here. We're trying to get some Nicaragua, Honduras, and some of these other countries down in Central America El Salvador, that I can get their national anthem uploaded for you guys as well. Tamaulipas is on here. So that's another resource here. So this resources page, you have 3 things that I think are going to help you with IDing stations for the country challenge. The unique sounds, the anthems of Latin America, and then the all season analysis. We looked at this a couple weeks ago when we launched, or last week when we looked at it. There is a lot of data here that you can use to identify target stations for specific countries. So if you go to all season analysis, and then you've got all kinds of different stuff, you can just search the log itself and look up specific countries and see everything. You can see here we have the DX stats that has all the information on the most heard stations from Cuba, the most heard stations from Colombia, the most heard stations from Central America, from the Caribbean, from South America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Asia, Oceania, all of that, right? So we have tables we've already built for you, so you don't have to like do all that digging. It's there, right? We have the DXer heat map, so you can see where are certain things. So if you want to see, okay, who is hearing Bonaire, you'll be able to see here what locations. Okay, I need to put the capital B in there. What DXer locations are hearing Bonaire? Well, these are all the different DXer locations that have reported Bonaire to our medium wave frequency challenge, right? So this is how you can use this kind of stuff to help you target or get an idea of stations that might be available for you. There's also the country stats page here as well, which will go into more detail about logs per country, and then some of the regions. You see the maps as well. But I think the DX stats, the DXer, the DX heat map, and the general stats, those 3 pages are going to be super helpful for you this week at finding stations to target for the country challenge. General stats, DX heat map, and the DX stats. Also, there is a breakout here for Canada and Mexico as well. So those will also be helpful if you're targeting those specific countries. Mexican stats, right? For instance, and this is the same thing on the Canadian one, but these are all the logs for Mexico, logs by state, the most heard station in each Mexican state. We have the same thing on the Canadian page for the provinces. So stuff to help you get these in your logbook, right? That's why these pages exist. The all-season analysis, the unique sounds of Latin America, the national anthems of Latin America. Those are going to help you get more stuff in your logbook, especially for this challenge. And then our Kiwis, if you're looking for Latin America, especially the Shortwave Central Kiwi over here, has a fantastic look into Latin America. So if you're trying to compare what we're hearing to what you're hearing to see if it matches up, that is a great resource for you to use. So we have links here for both of our Kiwis that you can hopefully use to help you get those stations kind of matched up to what you're hearing. So lots and lots of resources here for you to help you with the country challenge, finding those target stations, helping you get stuff in the logbook. Real quick, let's go ahead and do our last shout out we have for today. I have to go back to our main screen here, our camera screen. This shout out is from Aiden. Aiden says, it's going to be a little long, so strap in, okay? All right, so seatbelt strap. All right, so this week's been a little crazy. 3 new states this week. The first new state is Rhode Island. I was DXing and tuned to 1540 the day after last week's stream on 1129. I was hearing jazz music, intrigued. The man who was playing jazz on 1540, it can't be Bahamas, which I still never got on 1540, but I do have on 810, he says. 1540 is weird. Like, it doesn't get out as well as 810, but 810 is less powerful than 1540. I don't know why. It definitely cannot be KXEL, so I looked it up, and apparently to be ADK plays jazz on the weekends. Sure enough, it matched their live web stream perfectly, and better yet, I heard the call sign clear as a bell. This is the last state I needed in New England, besides the 3 northern ones, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, which I got one of them later in the week. Can you guess which one? Let's see. And by the way, Aiden is in Michigan, for those who are curious. Second new state this week was Wyoming. On December 1st, I was listening to 1630, and the usual KCJJ out of Iowa City was booming in. Heard some religious music underneath it, and I knew KFBU, Fox Farm played that kind of music, so I checked the stream, and it was a match. Only my second station from the western United States, first being KOA out of Denver. So Rhode Island, done. Wyoming, done. Last but not least, for the third new state, Vermont. December 3rd, I was on 1380 and hearing some classic hits, oldies, and for me, if I hear this kind of music on 1380, it's usually WDLW, WMTD, or WBEL, but this time I heard this, Rutland's Greatest Hits, 100.1 and 1380 WSYB, and I was ecstatic about it. Also, for those in the chat that guessed Vermont, they got it. You are correct for me. Now I have every state east of the Rockies besides New England, New Hampshire, and Maine. So New Hampshire and Maine are left east of the Rockies, and then he will have them all east of the Rockies, which is awesome. Now I know this may not sound impressive, but I've been AM DXing exclusively with portable radios and car radios with the built-in antennas for a year and 1 month. It is impressive. That is very impressive. I broke my graveyard distance record at 507.2 miles and 816.7 kilometers. The station is WPGG in Atlantic City, New Jersey on 1450. I heard them when I was in Charleston. Not as far from Charleston to Atlantic City, but I remember they get out very, very well. So that's awesome, man. I recorded Legal ID on a drive home on the same day I got Vermont station. It didn't come in so clear, but they were playing Mark Levine at the top of the hour. And clue number 3 is they were more than likely east of the Mississippi River, as I heard a partial W call sign when they said partial W when they said the call sign. Did a lot of research and stumbled across WPGG. They carried Fox News at the top of the hour. They were east of Mississippi on the East Coast. And when I took a closer look at the recording, I heard something from Millville and Town Square Media Group. And when I compared my recording to a legal ID air check of WPGG on YouTube, they matched each other perfectly. To top it off, they play Mark Levine at 6 p.m. WPGG, for me, is station number 5 from New Jersey. 4 I've gotten before this are 640 WWJZ, PAT on 930, 1660 WWRU, and TDM on 1680. I will share the recording and the recording listen for the very faint Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville and Town Square Media. Let's see if we can hear that here. So we go to our recording link. There we go. Nice, yeah. That's a hell of a catch, man. Rick's a big graveyard chaser, and so I know he's over there smiling right now at the thought of Michigan hearing New Jersey on the graveyard, because that's a great catch. So WSYB gets him Vermont, a new station from New Jersey on the graveyard, WPGG. He also gets another new state out of Wyoming on 1630, and WADK out of Rhode Island on 1540. So 3 new states and a new New Jersey on graveyard. We've got some shout out stuff to do for you, Aiden. So let's start with the fireworks. All right. So we got the fireworks in there. We got the new let's do the distance record for the graveyarders, right? That's a huge achievement, especially on not an SDR. Not that an SDR is makes it super easy, but I mean, anytime you're on a portable or a car radio or something like that, and you get something like that, that's wow. I remember the first time I heard Puerto Rico. It was in my car radio, and I was like, I was in Charleston at the time, so I had a great look at Puerto Rico, and I heard several stations from Puerto Rico after that, but it was the first time I'd ever heard Puerto Rico, and I was in my car, and I was like, oh. So anytime you can get something off of a big antenna SDR, it always makes it a little sweeter, doesn't it? That's how I feel my ham radio stuff. I've always done a wire antenna, 100 watts, and when I break a pile up, I'm like, ha, 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 I got it. It makes it a little sweeter when you can just do stuff like that. So we got the mileage record for his graveyard. We got the 3 new states, and we got the new log. We got some new logs here for you, man. All right. So there you well done, Aiden. Man, we saved the big one here for the grand finale of shout out. So hopefully, if you have some stuff to add in, dxchallenges.com/shoutout, get those in. We'll get you in next week on our next round of shout outs when we do those in next week's show. A couple from here. What did we have this week? I mentioned we got some stuff, right? So let's start with our FM Tropo opening. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I said that earlier. 7 stations new. We had Graceville, Florida, WTID on 101.7. We had 93.7 WOGK out of Ocala, K Country. We had 96.1 WRXK, 96 K-Rock out of Bonita Springs, Florida. All these are Florida, every one of these. We had 96.5 WOEX out of Orlando, Hits 96.5. We had Mix 105.1, also out of Orlando, WOMX. We had Trump Country 93.7, Sanibel, Florida, WHEL 93.7, and the new SRQ, Port Charlotte, Florida, 91.7 WVIJ. All 7 of those new logs, thanks to a very unusual Tropo opening here in December. So that was nice to see. On the AM side, we haven't had a lot come in, but we've had a couple of things. So let me think back to when was our last show was the 29th, right? So that means I do have some new ones since then. We have 1470 on our challenge frequency did produce a new one for me, and I was kind of surprised I hadn't logged these guys already. WNAU out of New Albany, Mississippi. Had not heard them before here in Mandeville, so that was nice to add to the log. So the challenge giveth on that one. 880, this was one that really surprised me. It was a sunrise recording that I was reviewing, and I don't remember why I was looking on 880. I think somebody had heard something on 880, and I was trying to go duplicate what they had heard, and instead... That's how this works. Sometimes people are like, man, I heard this new station over here on blah, blah, blah. And then you go look for it and you don't hear the thing they heard, but you hear another thing sometimes. That's what happened to me here. WRFD in Columbus, Ohio. This was at 7 o'clock in the morning on our new vertical antenna, our low noise vertical. So 880 WRFD Columbus. Anytime I'm hearing anything from that neck of the woods, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, over that way, That's a big catch for us here. We don't get a lot out in that direction. If you look at our medium wave online logbook and our analysis, because I have this, so I like to look at this every once in a while. If you look at the heat map for us for logs, you'll see Tennessee. Obviously, the stuff closer in is going to be a little bit brighter, but then like Ohio, only 12. 18 or 10 out of Indiana, right? West Virginia, 2. But then you get down here, Georgia, 55, Tennessee, 64, Alabama, 62. I mean, it makes sense. 38, Mississippi. There's not a lot in Mississippi anyway. 40, Arkansas, 41, Missouri. And this is the percentage. This is the one that really tells the tale. The percentage of each state, of the stations licensed in that state that we've heard here. So, like, how much of the state have you covered? Well, pretty good on Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana. We're at 56% for Arkansas, 54% for Mississippi, 82. Yeah, 83 basically for Louisiana. We have almost 50% of Texas taken care of. But Ohio, we're at 9.5%. That's what I'm talking about, right? 12.1% for Indiana. West Virginia, 3. So, yeah, those are definitely not common here. When I was in Charleston, Ohio came in all the time, which was fitting because all of Ohio felt like they were moving to Charleston when I lived there. So it was fitting that we would get all of those Ohio radio stations. Did we forget anything for tonight? I did want to talk about this. We might actually take this to next week. It came up in the Slack this week. Our friend Dennis Bannister was talking about this and it led to a kind of discussion. So I might gather my thoughts and table this till next week. But I at least want to touch on it a little bit. So IDing Latin American stations. So when I first started getting back into AMDX, right? Not when I was DXing back in the 90s. In the 90s, I was like hardcore on trying to get Latin America. But then when I started back like 2012-ish, I would hear Spanish, and I was so inundated with Cuba when I was in South Carolina that everything I heard just became Cuba. Or Florida. It was either Florida or Cuba, one of the two. So anything that I heard that was Spanish, I just automatically assumed it was Cuba. And either I would no, I'm good. I don't need any more Cubans, which is not what I would be saying today. I've completely changed my outlook on how to do that now. Now I'm like, give me all the Cubans. I don't care. I just want all the stations. But more than likely, there was some stuff in there like Colombia or Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico. There was probably some stuff in there that I was just not paying attention to or putting the effort behind trying to ID. So it took me a little bit of time to get a feel for what to listen for. And that's why I put up those unique sounds, because those are easy little audible clues. You don't have to know Spanish to hear a, or not that one. You don't have to be able to speak French to be able to get Haiti when they have Dashing Through the Snow playing at the top of the hour. You don't have to speak Spanish to be able to ID a station out of San Andres on 910 when they have the little La FAMA RCN sounder on there, right? Like, you don't have to be able to speak Spanish to know Radio Viva Pasto, right? That kind of stuff helps. So when you're not a native speaker of the language of a station that's not in your neck of the woods, or even if it's like a domestic station that's playing that format, it can be tricky when you're not live DXing. Live DXing, it's a little easier because, you have the people in the Slack channel you can bounce ideas off of, and you can kind of compare notes to, which is how, like Sean mentioned, he got a lot of stuff during our last big Latin American opening that way by comparing notes to everybody else. Or you have those live streams or a Kiwi that you can turn to try to use those to help you get those stations matched up. So live DX, it's a little easier during live DX to be able to get stuff out of Latin America into your logbook because you have other resources you can use. But when you're reviewing an IQ recording, you're just relying on what you can hear. And hopefully you can hear enough for an ID or something else that that's like a known entity, like an anthem or a unique sound that can help you tie that back to the correct station. You can't rely on the stream unless you were recording the live stream or recording a Kiwi, which, like Jacob's awesome at that, right? He records these live streams overnight or a Kiwi overnight, things like that, to try to get try to get that audio that you can match up to his recording and say, okay, this is aligning it time wise. And so this happened at the exact same time here. So if I hear the same thing on the Kiwi that I heard on my signal, I know I've got a match, right? He's awesome at that. Really, really good at that. So you can do that kind of stuff. But otherwise, if you didn't take the time to do the recording of the live stream or the Kiwi, you're falling back on, okay, do I have something unique that I can fall on, like an anthem or a unique sounder or a little thingy that's like identifies it as being them, like 4VEH out of Haiti or the RCN sounder, things like that. Or do I get enough clues in my limited amount of Spanish that I know? Do I have enough clues to be able to help me get an ID here? And that will improve over time. That will definitely improve over time, your ability to pick out an ID from a Spanish station when you don't speak the language, right? That takes time to really kind of know what to listen for. Like when you hear punto cinco or punto seis or, punto siete, things like that, that's probably an FM, right? Because that's the 101.7. If you hear the 1.7, that's 1.7, right? Or if you hear like punto com, that's a website. Everyone always listens for like the radio. And when you hear radio, you kind of perk up. You're like, is that an ID? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they're just talking about the radio. So there's just different things that you can listen for. I mentioned this last year though, and I'll talk more about this next week for the full audience, for everybody. Because then we had some folks drop off. But last season we talked a bit about research and intel and how you can use that for your DX. So let me just touch on it really quick. And like I said, we'll go into a deeper dive next week. I have Chile down in South America and Uruguay that I'm trying to hear. So one of the things that I did is I spent some time listening to either a Kiwi or the live stream of the station, whatever down there. I went to listen to the station to know what they do. I want to listen to how they do their IDs. When do they do it? Do they do it before the top of the hour? At the top of the hour? A little bit after? Do they always hit it right on the post right there at the top of the hour? Or do they let like the song play through if they play music? And I listen to different times of the day to kind of get that kind of feel. I want to know what some of the voices sound like. The person who does the imaging, the branding of the station. What does that voice sound like? Do they use any kind of special effects like echo? Or like there's La Nueva Radio Ya down in Nicaragua on 600. They like to use a lot of like laser sounds, like little laser sounds in between like news stories and stuff like that. Getting used to the voices, getting used to any little soundy things that they do that's unique to them. Like there was a station down in Colombia a couple of years ago that was doing a rooster crow in their morning shows. I forget. I think it was Antenna Dos on 650, but they would do a rooster crow during their morning show. Like every morning, their morning show would start. You hear this rooster crow. It's like part of their little shtick that they would do. So do you have anything like that? What kind of commercials do they run? There's a bunch of stations down in Mexico that run this one particular kind of commercial for this company called Mecatech. I think is what it was. Mexico Mike J would have to keep me honest on that one. I think it was called Mecatech. And you would hear that commercial on this one specific network of Mexican radio stations, acoustic. And so if you heard that, you're like, I got an acoustic station. So let me see who my acoustic stations are, right? A lot of the Mexican stations run this ad for the government, and it has this little whistle thing. It goes, na, 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 na. If you hear that little whistle, that's Mexico, right? So these little things that you start to pick up over time. And the best way to pick that up is to do your research ahead of time. So again, we'll talk about this more detail next week, but there is a method sometimes to being able to target specific stations in the countries that you want. And it requires a little work ahead of time of researching, getting an idea of what the station sounds like. What does their imaging sound like? What kind of, do they play music? Like I know Uruguay at night has a certain time of the night when they play religious music at certain points of the evening, especially at certain days of the week. And so, and there's certain songs they play every single time I listen. So if I happen to be listening and I hear this one particular song, I'm like, oh crap, that's probably Uruguay. So, you get that by listening and listening and listening and listening. You start to get a feel for that station. It's just like how when you have one of your like semi-locals or locals that you have that you hear all the time, you'd know it instantly. As soon as you hear that voice or that commercial or that way that they kind of do their imaging, you know instantly who it is. It's the same thing. But we're doing it with stations that are not in our backyard. We're doing it with stations that are in another country where we don't speak the language. So we need a little more time to kind of build that knowledge base up. So next week on the show, we're going to talk about research, and how to dive in and really figure out the ins and outs and nuances of a station and how to help you use that information to help you ID a station, even if you're not live DXing. Okay. All right. So that's going to do it for us for tonight. So a couple of quick reminders. Thank you to our patrons. Number one, first and foremost, thank you to our patrons. Patreon.com/DX Central. We've got a great start to this already, and I've mentioned it before, but the donations you guys are already doing through Patreon are helping us to do things like upgrade our hosting servers. We've got bigger, more robust website servers now for our websites. They're going to lead to a lot of really cool stuff. So thank you to our patrons. If you want to be part of that, there's a lot of perks into it. We're going to be adding to those perks as we go along. Patreon.com/DX Central. To our sponsors, the National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org, the International Radio Club of America, IRCAonline.org, and the Spectrum Monitor magazine, thespectrummonitor.com. Thank you to our sponsors for your support as well of our efforts here at DX Central Live. And thank you, our audience. You guys, especially the ones who are here now, we're like way over what we usually do on our live stream, but that's cool, because we're talking about some cool stuff. So thank you for being in the audience and for sticking it out here with us all the way through the show. A lot of you guys are here every week, and man, it means the world to me. So thank you. Thank you to our friends in the Slack channel for all of your collaboration and support and just cheerleading that you do and everything else. You guys are amazing. So we'll be back next week. We're going to put the Christmas song bingo up on the website, the DX Challenge website. So don't forget to check that out. I'll drop that here later this evening. So be sure to check that out this week. The Christmas song bingo. We'll have that up there on a banner on the website. So that should do it. Let's cross our fingers for some good Latin American conditions this week as we do the Country Challenge, dxchallenges.com. Go there now, register if you haven't done so already, and get your logs in for the Country Challenge. We'll see you guys next week.
This has been the DX Central from the Static Podcast. If you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, let us know by emailing sponsors@fromthestatic.net. If you have a story to share for our Stories from the Static series, send those to our email address, stories@fromthestatic.net. Be sure to join us for our live DX live stream every Friday night at 23:45 UTC, 18:45 Central Time on our YouTube channel or at dxcentrallive.com.
The DX Central From the Static podcast is copyright 2025, Lloyd Van Horn, DX Central. All rights reserved. No portion of this podcast may be rebroadcast or reused without the express written authorization of Lloyd Van Horn and DX Central. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, as new episodes will be posted regularly. Join us next time for the DX Central From the Static podcast.